We're in space today. Mike and Mom, mission control, and Georgiou can do it all. It is episode 11, season 2 of Star Trek. The AfterBuzz starts now.
You're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
Flying through space. How's everyone living? How's everyone doing out there? My name is Flobo Boys. I am in the big boy chair. Christian Bladt is on assignment, and it's also opening day for the New York Mets. It could be collided, we're not really sure. Thank you for joining us at Star Trek, the AfterBuzz Star Trek Weekly. Was called at one point, but it's a Star Trek AfterBuzz show for Star Trek Discovery. Now, before we get into everything, I want to introduce my fantastic panel. To my immediate left, she is a very, very funny comedian. Please welcome, for the first time, Miss Nikki Bailey.
Yes! Hey. I'm very excited to be here. I'm a diehard Star Trek fan. Cannot wait to get my chat on.
Okay, you're diehard, but day one. Day one?
Day one?
So what's your favorite franchise?
My favorite franchise is TNG, The Next Generation.
Discovery. I'm just kidding. TNG is definitely a classic one. I can't knock for that. And to the left, we have the man himself, Frank Moran.
Oh, hey, everybody. There you go. I think Christian was wearing a red shirt when he left, so I'm worried.
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm worried for him.
Why did he beat him down? We had no idea how he did that. Christian will be back next week. Sure.
Nikki, favorite Star Trek character in The Next Generation? Who is your person?
Okay. Don't laugh at me.
All right.
Wesley Crusher.
No!
What?
Only because, so I grew up watching The Next Generation. I had a huge crush on him. And I know everybody hates on Wesley Crusher, but I loved him. I mean, if I had to say, if like aside from Wesley, because he's not everybody's favorite, obviously, it would be Data. So
Nice. Did you like what they did with Wesley? Because first when they went to Starfleet, you're like, all right, he's kind of going to go into the academy. That's great. But then he leaves that and he gets involved with the Traveler. Do you like where they kind of left Wesley?
No, I was heartbroken. First of all, no, they should have, there was no resolution. I don't know whatever happened to Wesley. And in the movies, he didn't come back or anything. What happened to Wesley? I have created a story about what happened to Wesley in my mind.
Okay.
But I feel, it feels very unresolved still. Like how many, 20 years later, 30 years later, whatever.
There is a cutting room scene because he's supposedly at the wedding of Riker and Troy in Insurrection, but it never made it into the final cut.
Oh, we needed that. They should have put it.
Coming soon. What happened to Wesley? I want to thank you for joining the panel, Nikki. Even though Christian's not here this week, he'll be back next week. So you're on audition, not a replacement. So I'm so glad you're here to be part of the fold.
I am glad to be here too.
So let's get right into it. Star Trek Season 2, Episode 11, Discovery. A Perpetual Infinity was the name of the episode. Overall impressions, starting with you, Frank. What do you think of the episode?
I am a sucker for time travel stories.
Oh yeah,
yeah. That's I love them. This was interesting. It definitely escalated some stuff, and it's always great to see Georgiou kicking butt. Michelle Yeoh can do no wrong.
I did yell "Go Michelle" in the middle of the fight scene with Leland. I am so emotional from this episode with Michael seeing her mom and everything she went through in the last episode, and then this episode seeing her mom, and it was such a journey, and I cried. I did.
Yeah, well, you did. It was pretty.
I did.
Yeah, I have a cold black heart. I never cry in things, but I was like, you know what? If I had one, I could totally see me crying there.
Yeah.
I actually like this episode a lot. A lot of emotional things. In fact, towards the end, you got a little bit of that little fight action scenes. You got something for everyone, which is pretty awesome. But I want to give a shout out to the chat: Beta Artemis, Stress Free K, Daniel Brown, all of us. All the regulars, all the usual suspects in the chat today. How's everyone doing? If you have a question, you guys can interact too. And if you want to support the show, there is a super chat button. Click that, have your thing said and broadcasted for everyone. So let's get right into it. The Red Angel, Dr. Gabrielle Burnham. Now, last week we're a little surprised when we ended with the mom. Is that you? But now we're getting a little bit more of the relationship. Now, Nick, let me ask you this. How was it seeing Michael and her mommy issues?
All women have mommy issues. I don't know if you guys know this. I don't know if men do, but all women have mommy issues.
Intuition?
Some of it. I mean, so it's just moms are hard. Mother-daughter relationships are hard. I think it was so beautiful, though. I loved Michael's tears. This is such a sentimental, weird thing to say, but she cried so beautifully. And
She did cry nice.
And the determination she had to get down there to see her mom, I totally get that. Yes, you're gonna let me see my mother. It was so emotional. I just loved it. Yeah.
Right?
It's this is almost with the little snippets that we saw of the backstory that leading her to getting flung 950 years into the future, I almost rather wish we would have been able to follow her point of view more throughout the episode and see more of what she experienced rather than just hear about it in a capsulized version. Because it was really intriguing to see her go back and touch these events, and more so that we found out through the course of the episode that she had been able to see more of Burnham's life events, which I didn't realize the Red Angel suit would have like a stealth mode. Because how was that just sneaking in?
Yeah.
Right, like it made her omnipotent or omnipresent or something. Like she could
Omniscient?
she could see everything. That was weird.
One of the SAT words. I'm kind of with you, Frank. I know having the opportunity to see her point of view would actually make that line later on, when she goes, "Time is savage," hit that much more, being so far flung in the future. Like time travel, I'm a big nut for like immortal movies and TV shows and stuff like that, and that's always the worst things about it. You're alive forever, but everything passes around you, all that decay and stuff like that. So we had Dr. Gabriel when she was being asked to see the Captain Pike, but said specifically, "I don't want to see Michael." What was the first thing that was on your mind? Start with you, Nikki.
Well, my mom passed away, so like the first thing that was on my mind was like, that is heartbreaking.
Yeah.
You know, like wouldn't she want to see her daughter right away? My second thought though was, what if something happens? Like what if she sees, if she was going to see Michael, would that then like mess up the timeline in some way? So I was like wondering if they were going to go somewhere with like, if they saw each other, it would create a discontinuity in the timeline or something. I don't know. I was wondering if that's why they were doing it, but I'm glad that she did eventually get to see her. So
Sure. Frank?
I think if we had seen more of the episode from her point of view and saw the process of her seeing Michael die a variety of times and her going back to save it, you could understand like the callousness that she had to build up within herself.
Yeah.
That to see her daughter would be just, it's like it would tear down the walls that she had built up, and she needs to stay on task.
Yeah.
So, I feel like hearing it this way, it kind of does leave a little bit more like, well, why doesn't she want to see me? And you do find out the answer as the episode goes on, but I don't know if it had as much of I don't know if it would have, you could understand more the point of view immediately if you had seen more from her point of view.
So over the course of the season and a half now, or almost 2 seasons, we've seen Michael, and we've seen her Vulcan family, and now her mom. Did today's events of this episode even impact your opinion of her characterization of Michael, seeing how she interacted with her mom and her Vulcan mom and her dad and Georgiou almost too, because that was a mother figure as well, right?
Yeah, it's the opportunity to meet your mother when you thought she'd been dead for at least 20 odd years. That's a fantastic opportunity to get to see that. But knowing that it is such a brief moment in time that you get to have, especially because Burnham, she wants to save everybody. We've already seen that demonstrated, and to some success and to some not. But that if her mother's in danger more than anybody, she'd want to do everything she could to save her. And to realize that her mom, while she would love to be with Burnham, still realizes that the bigger mission, the larger mission, as I say, takes precedence. So she knows she also has to say goodbye to her too, at least for now.
yeah, I felt like the fact that they spent so much time sort of showing us Burnham's character, this character defect of always wanting to save everyone, that they spent so much time on that, made her inability to save her mother that much more heartbreaking. Right. It's such a core part of who she is, this drive to save. So obviously she was not going to just let her mom go, but there was no way. I don't think it would have worked if it would have been so awkward if or weird if they had allowed her to stay. And I think that this gives us a wonderful place to go from here in terms of, what's going to drive Burnham now.
For sure.
Nikki, I'm kind of curious, or somebody who listens to Next Generation. It starts off as an ensemble show, but as the seasons go on, it really is more Picard, Data, even Worf with a lot of the Klingon episodes. They kind of rise to the forefront in terms of who the writers are really servicing a lot. For you, do you like a Discovery? Because it's really Burnham focused. Do you enjoy that, or do you kind of miss, or you wish more of the ensemble had an opportunity to shine as much as she does?
I like it, and most of why I like it is just because I'm excited to see a Black woman be the star of a Star Trek show. Mm-hmm. But Tilly is so amazing that I want more Tilly. And I also really love that they gave Saru so much time this season too. So I would like more of the ensemble piece. I'm really interested in and I really feel like it would serve Burnham's story to understand more of how she interacts with everybody else on the crew. So I think that they should give us a little more ensemble. I would love a little more ensemble time.
That's fair. That's fair. I want to give a shout out to Daniel Brown supporting us, hitting that super chat button. Thank you so much for your financial support. Before we move on to our next topic, our friend Frank has a special message for us. All fans out there.
Holy cow.
In
fresh,
space.
Yes, fresh from Starfleet. They wanted to let us know there that, folks, we do a lot of great shows here at AfterBuzz. And we cover a lot of fantastic TV shows. And, we really appreciate you watching all those and helping us become the ESPN of TV Talk. But we also need some help as well. So we're asking if you can, if you're watching on YouTube, if you can subscribe and give us a nice big like. If you're on iTunes, give us those 5-star ratings. But whatever you're watching, comment, get involved in the conversation. I mean, Flobo's got that chat up and running.
Yeah, we got the chat going. Stress Free K, Beta Artemis. What's up?
Yeah, get involved. We love to hear what you're thinking. That gives us ways to bounce off of you and interact with you, and that's what we enjoy doing the most. So, in the meantime, though, keep watching our shows. Thank you for letting us do what we love to do, and continue to enjoy the show.
Oh, thank you so much. So,
Oh, thanks, Steph. Thank you.
yeah, thank you. That was great. That was smooth. That was great. I mean, I'm sold. Let's talk about my favorite part of the episode, the espionage on or around that sphere data, right? So now we have the emotional connection of why it's important for the Red Angel, but now we have that ticking time bomb, right? The transfer of the sphere data. What's the implications? What do you think is going to happen with that? I really want to see your opinion on this one, Nikki, because you were on the edge of the seat with I am. Like, who has it? Who's helping out? How long the download's happening? What's your thoughts?
I was actually, I was confused for a moment just because I wasn't sure what the little red thing was doing. But then once I understood it, I knew that Georgia was going to come through and fight for right. I knew she was going to fight for the right, that she was going to be on the right side of the future, history, whatever. I knew she would. And so I was really, I was happy to see that she was stopping it. But I think that, what did it get, 51%? 54%? So what can Control do with that? Although I do have a question, though. How was Control able to take over Leland's body?
They use some sort of they inject nanites into him, I'd assume, that the Control is not controlling those.
It looked like that, but also how he got tied down, I guess.
Right, that was my question.
Yes.
I said to
Yeah,
you, how did he get tied down?
He just tripped and fell. Oh, no.
No, that's true. Yeah, because you get the things in his eyes, which he seemed totally fine. You got two big gauges stuck in your eyes.
Right, yeah.
I would think man, that's rough. But all of a sudden he wakes up and he's tied up and his eyes look fine.
Right.
That is a good point. I was giving Leland flack last week for being so weak and ineffective, but Compromised Leland is pretty fun. I can't lie, seeing him all evil and stuff. So
it was the most authoritative that he's been,
Yeah.
and confident,
Right.
Yeah.
and it's and deceitful. It's all right, where was this Leland? I never saw him this in control of everything any other time this season.
right, and I feel like he totally sold it. And
But I also thought it was a big indication to Georgia. It's
yeah,
this
Right.
is it.
Yeah, Georgia was wait a minute, he did not have on his big boy panties before. How is he possibly how is he possibly
what does
being
that even
this
look
guy
like?
now? Yeah.
Big boy panties. But we saw him interact with Ash first, saying, "Look, we want you to go over to the Discovery and help to download that data." And you saw Ash kind of go "Well, I don't know if I should, but it is the mission. I'm not going to say no." I always thought that Ash has a thankless role here on Star Trek. He's been possessed. He's had the thing with Michael or whatever. Did it surprise you that he actually went through and did it anyway? That he didn't stop and say, "This isn't right"? Does that sound like anything that would be on character for him?
Well, he did stop because you saw him a couple times that he had the control thing and he was going to do it and then he stops. And then even tells Leland, he goes, "This doesn't seem right. I can't do this. I can't do this right now. I can't do what you're asking me to do."
Right, but the fact he went and tried and attempted, he even went forward and got to the room and was like, "Yeah."
Yeah, I mean, I think it's him being around the crew.
Sure.
And see what the picture that Leland's painting of Burnham and her perspective, and then actually seeing them all bouncing ideas there as they're talking about what to do with this. I think it made him realize that this is not Burnham out of control. This is truly a dangerous threat that we need to take care of.
And Burnham called him out last week about, you're telling everybody who you are with every second you stay in Section 31, right? Mm-hmm. So I think that probably had some impact too, that he was like, wait, is this the guy I want to be?
Yeah.
And no, it's not. And I'm glad that happened, because I worry about Ash, and I want them to get back together. So I want them to be together. So
Wait, I want to follow up on this, but first I want to give a shout out to John Saunders supporting us in the chat with the super chat function. You're amazing. Are you still shipping Ash and Michael?
I am shipping Ash and Michael.
Go on. What?
I like their well, I don't know if there's actually chemistry, but I want there to be chemistry.
He's got a baby.
They're both
Klingon baby.
I know he's got a Klingon baby. But no, I feel like she really gets him, and he's been the only person up until recently who she really lets in, and I like it when we get to see more of Burnham as this, like, you know, woman with feelings and the desire and the need for connection. So like I want them to work.
I would say season 1, having Michael grow and accepting love was like, all right, it made me feel kind of warm and fuzzies, but still, after all that stuff, you're still
I'm
down.
still down
Lorel and
for it.
everything. You're just like,
I'm
go.
still down for it.
Wow, that's like a optimist, romantic. I don't know what the word is there, but props. What about you? Are you shipping anybody?
I don't. You know, I don't. I mean, certainly know that Michelle Yeoh is going to be for the Section 31 show. She's got that built around her. I don't know if Tyler's going to be in it, but there's a little bit of interaction this episode.
Yeah.
She's telling him to watch the download, find out what Leland's up to, and their banter back and forth. I was like, all right, if Tyler does come over to the Section 31 show, I would like to see more of the banter between the two of them.
Yeah. I like the fact that Georgiou is all liberated. And speaking of,
But do you? That's the. It's. I mean, certainly she's going to have her own show, and
Sure.
so you want her to have that, not to be totally the Terran Georgiou. You want to have her see her at least some redeeming qualities, some humanity in her.
which we saw some tonight.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah.
But I also feel like, is it? Do we? I want to see. I want to see some of the homework at least, because
Okay.
all we've seen of her this season. I've talked to Michael a few times, and then she kind of has, which I'm not. I mean, it was great to see her come over to the, ostensibly the side of the angels. But I also feel like we never really got to see her at all this season have any. We never saw things from her point of view. I mean, and it's not Section 31 show.
Yeah.
But it's also feel like we missed out on a lot of like why she is starting to soften and maybe have a change of heart a little bit.
Sure.
I don't know.
I feel like obviously they're setting up the Section 31 show, but I think even Taryn Georgia loved Michael. You know, in whatever way they love in that universe. I think that she really does have like genuine feelings. So I think, and I'm glad that they're showing us a little bit of that now. I would like to see a little bit more of her evil side come out. I would like to see her, like, you know, like she was just a little too good this episode, I think. Like she was a little too, I'm on the good guys team. And I'm like, come on. I think she's playing a longer game.
Yeah.
And so we're going to find out her longer game on the new series, I guess. But yeah. I'm
Can
looking forward
villains
to that.
have good days though? Are they allowed to be nice for a whole day, or?
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like any monster or villain, I mean, they're not that 24/7. There are things that they do care about.
Yeah.
And certainly the best ones that those are the best types of villains, because then they make you see at least some humanity in them, which can give you a chance to like at least root for them in some respect.
Right, because you can't, if you're not going to watch a show where you actually hate the character, right?
enough.
So like you have to have some reason to love her, and plus villains have layers just like everyone else.
That's true. And I guess my next question is, throughout the season, when we saw Georgiou step into the good side with the fight scenes, or even with helping out Michael escaping sometimes, do you think that's a bit too much? Do you think she's like maybe flirting a bit too much with being good and not being that morally ambiguous character we love?
I did think that I felt like she had genuine emotion, genuine care, and for Burnham. Like I said though, I think that she's playing a long game, and I think that none of her goodness is just goodness.
Fair enough.
Like I think it's probably more calculated than that. So
I am curious about the conversation, because probably one of my favorite scenes was the conversation between Georgiou and Dr. Burnham, and where she says, "Oh yeah, I know you risked everything to help save my daughter," and the conversation, she's like, "Oh, you mistake me for the prime version of Georgiou," but it feels like Dr. Burnham's response is like, I feel like she knows that the Georgiou she's talking to is really from the Terran Empire, and that she knows that Georgiou does things past this conversation that's going to actually prove how close she is to Burnham.
Fair enough. That's
Yeah, I like that. I agree.
That's a very good note. I was going to say stepping back when Leland tried to appeal to her, not insecurity, what's the opposite word? of
Her
that?
ego.
Her ego.
Yeah,
That's a
he
good
was,
point.
he was
Thank
all
you.
up in her ego.
He was all up in her
there,
ego,
yeah.
like, you're so smart, you can do it, you're amazing, hashtag winning. I thought there was going to be a double cross, but it was a triple cross. It was kind of like, all right, this doesn't seem right. She pulls aside and goes, hey, Ash, secure channel, what's going on with this guy? He's not the same guy that we know, right? So I guess my question is then, had Leland not been compromised, just speculation at this point, what did you think that Georgiou's long game would have been? Like, had he just been the normal, like, uncontrolled?
I think Leland, as Control,
Yeah.
has her number. She wants to be the most powerful woman in the universe again.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's true. I mean, I feel like Leland wasn't compromised. I mean, he's, I don't know, he's such a knucklehead.
Yeah, exactly.
So I feel like Georgiou would have just ran around him and did what she wanted to do anyway. And it does seem, I don't think Section 31 or this, I think taking Leland as Control out of it,
Yeah.
I think everybody would realize the danger of Control getting a hold of this, of the sphere data.
Yeah, Stress-Free K in the chat says, Georgiou had no choice this time. Leland scared her to death because Georgiou knows true evil when she sees it. Ooh, that's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
good insight.
Yeah, very good insight. So, I got to say this about having, Dr. Gabriel Burnham in that force field and that shared moment. Besides the fact of the interaction with her daughter, the idea of seeing multiple versions of death over and over again. I felt that there was a missed opportunity there to really go into the scarring of that. We talked about that earlier in this episode of her traveling, but like having to see your daughter pass away so many times, not only would have sold like why she was so cold, but maybe like I think would also inform to why she let her go. I felt like it was kind of quick in her mind saying, look, I understand, I see you day one, I saw you here, but you gotta let me go. I felt like there would have been more of a pull out there. What do you guys think?
Yeah, it's, I mean, I guess, seeing Burnham just go through her mom's data files and seeing all these missions and stuff, looking at that,
Right.
it's almost like that, I'd rather show don't tell, where it's like, don't tell me about this. And even though we're watching some view screen representations of for things, it's like, I don't want to see mission logs. I'd rather would have seen her go through this.
Sure.
Show me actually Dr. Burnham going through this, and let me get sucked in a little bit more into her, the dilemma that she's in.
Right.
And I actually thought that that's what they were going to do when they started the episode. When Burnham was 12, and when I thought that that's what we were going to spend the whole episode with her family and finding out what happened to them. And I thought that would have been a really good move too.
Yeah,
I would really like to know.
Because we've spent so much of the season like building up who the Red Angel is and what their importance is, to really spend a whole episode really sinking into this character and why they've been doing what they've been doing this whole season. Yeah. I think I would have enjoyed that.
I agree.
I want to give a shout out to Beta Artemis helping us out with the super chat function in the chat. Thank you so much. That moves on to Spock, right? So as this is going on, he's been kind of aloof during a part of a mass majority of the episode, but he comes out to comfort Michael, and we see their relationship evolve even more. So my question for you, I'm going to start with you, Frank. How do you think Spock is taking this interaction between Michael and her actual biological mother and being able to justify those visions he has as a child of the Red Angel?
I mean, certainly Spock gets the answer to something that's been haunting him this whole season. It's about why did the Red Angel choose him since he was a child to start showing him all these visions. And so, yeah, I mean, I feel like he got that answer.
Yeah.
So which was great to have Spock get that answer. It's also, I mean, and I've enjoyed seeing the Burnham Spock relationship grow, and so I'm beginning to enjoy their interactions more. But then it still makes me, which I apologize, Nikki. This drives me crazy all the time. It's like Burnham, for all we've known and everything we've seen before in Star Trek, Burnham has never been mentioned, and now we see this like what seems to be like from a very divided relationship to like really close. At least that seems where it's going. It's only getting closer and closer as we see each episode this season. To then. We're never going to hear her mentioned again.
Right.
True. True.
Don't get
Okay,
us started.
so I mean, for real though, I mean, we talked briefly before last week when I was like, I have some continuity issues with the show.
Right.
I do think that Burnham's mom, as the Red Angel, gives Burnham and Spock another point of connection, because this angel was there not just for her, watching over her, but watching over him as well. And so, I think that gives them another place where they can connect. They share this individual that's meant something to both of them. Mm-hmm. I do think I cannot wait to find out how they're going to explain away the fact that we never heard of Burnham before, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And so again, if you're now giving them this other way to connect and this other way to be close with each other, and obviously Spock has tender feelings for her, right? Like, and we never hear from her again.
Do you think that the writers will give us an answer to that, or would it just be like, and I've mentioned this before on the show, that, during those downtimes when we never see Spock on air in the original series, maybe he's having a conversation with Burnham, over the,
Chatting with
intercom.
his sister.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would that be enough for you if they never say why they don't talk at all now, or why he's never mentioned her in any of the original series, but you just assume that, oh yeah, I guess.
No, I want them to, they need to clarify. I feel like
Okay.
they're working really hard this season to give us like the explanation for how all of these things are possible. Some of them I buy, some of them I don't.
Right.
But I need something definitive to explain why she disappears from Spock's story after, from this point of the, like after this point in the timeline. So
I mean, I think that's fair. To the writer's credit or discredit out there, wherever you look at it, they've tried to explain hair on Klingons and view screens and the like. It'd be kind of egregious just to be like, oh yeah, don't worry about that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so the tactile ride, the dyslexic comes in together as a device point. Okay, Nikki, how do you feel about that? Right off the bat.
I'm trying to find out why come we have not found a way to solve dyslexia. Like we're far enough into the future at
Yeah.
this point
Yeah.
that and Spock, who like we know Spock really well, and we have not seen any indication of him being dyslexic.
Yeah.
So I don't buy it, and it's problematic. Like when Amanda first named the disorder that he had, I googled like, what's that? Like that's gotta, and of course nothing came up
That'd be kind of funny if they did.
because it's a Vulcan word. But then when she said dyslexia, I legit while Flobo and I were watching it, I googled dyslexia
In space?
to see what causes it and if there's a cure. Cause look, it's why is there no cure for dyslexia? Come on, Star Trek. Come on, y'all. Come on, Discovery. I suspend my disbelief with the best of them.
Right.
I am down. I am committed to this show because I am committed to all things Star Trek except for Enterprise. But
Side jab.
how could Spock have dyslexia? I don't understand.
That's true. Yeah, it's modern medicine has made such leaps and bounds in the 24th, 25th, even 23rd century. We should,
Yeah.
one of those petty things that we should be able to kind of have eradicated by this point.
Hey, man, I mean, look, the advances in medicine are apparent. We had Hugh Kluber not even working last week. Now he's like the head lead doctor again. So we don't know.
Well, I don't know if we know he's the head doctor. He's working.
He's
He's
on
up
duty.
there.
Yeah,
He's up
he's on
there.
duty.
The chat, shout out to the chat. John Saunders asks, when did Spock talk about Cybok until Cybok appeared? So I guess the counterpoint, if the story kind of fits it, we'll have more of that. Nikki's not buying it. She's like,
I'm pausing to see what else happens, but
Yeah, I mean, based at this moment in time and how the relationships are, I mean, certainly Burnham and Spock seem to have a closer relationship than Spock and Cybok ever did.
Yeah.
So for him to never really mention Cybok until he shows up into the Final Frontier, I could buy that. It's somebody, he's a half brother, didn't really know him that well. But for Burnham and Spock, I mean, they're so close that to never hear a mention or reference seems so weird.
especially since Burnham, what she said to him when he was a child was so devastating and so life-changing for him. So that's another thing that they're going to have to, find a way to reconcile for us. Because, Trek fans, we do not play when it comes to...
do you think that Trek fans are
Continuity
going to band
issues.
together and have a list of demands like Martin Luther and just bang on the door at
We
CBS? Should. Go out there and riot.
Well, Nikki, I'll ask you because we, like Christian and I, and not so much Flobo because he's, newer to the Star Trek family.
Yeah.
Have had this conversation where one of our sticking points for Discovery is the time and place that it's set. Like if we'd seen something that had taken place after Next Generation,
Right.
after J.J. Abrams' first one where we see what happens to Romulus and it explodes.
Mm-hmm.
Would you rather have seen a series set at that point as opposed to spending so much time having to try to explain to audiences why this still fits into the narrative and the continuity that they've grown to love?
I would. The reason I couldn't get into Enterprise is because of similar reasons. There were, like prequels only work if you're gonna sort of be consistent with what we're looking at technologically, what we're looking at in terms of the culture and the legacy and the history of the show, right? So I would much rather have it had it been after the Next Generation. And you know, I get the impulse or the desire to sort of fill in the Star Trek, because you know we all have our, you know, fan fiction about Star Trek, right?
Fair enough.
But like it's so cemented that I don't want to say cemented, but it's so well established, you know, that it's so hard to now watch, like, because if you read the books and if you know, like, there's so much there already that's in the canon already. Like, it just seems like an impossible job to sort of do a prequel when there's already so much there. When they could have created something after the Next Generation that would have given TNG fans like a little like, oh, life goes on, and also they could have introduced all this really new amazing technology that we could be excited about instead of going, how could they be doing that?
Yeah.
You know?
A wizard did it. As I continue, this time for our special segment. This is a segment I like to call the ABCD Award. That's above and beyond the Call of Duty. We pick one person who did something extraordinary this episode. Nikki, I want to start with you. Who was the one person you think would be the ABCD Award winner for today's episode?
I'm gonna give it to Ash. I feel like Ash. He stepped up. He stepped up both in terms of, you know, Burnham saying, you know, her whole thing about who do you want to be, and I think he decided who he's going to be, and the person that he is someone who wants to save the universe instead of just following Leland's orders. So yeah.
For the cause too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's tough. For me, I feel like it's a toss-up between Georgiou and Ash, for the same reasons. To see, I mean, and maybe that's just because I really have a soft spot for Michelle Yeoh, but to see her, you know, whipping ass this episode is always great.
Yeah.
So I had to see her actually kind of fighting on the right side for once. It was always nice.
Yeah, I guess I'm like you. I was torn. I'm ultimately going to give it to Ash. He got stabbed for it.
That's true.
I think that's up there. I mean, granted, Georgiou got punched in the face a couple times. That also counts in most things. But, you know, Ash, I feel like he's trying to walk this path the best way he can. He gets pulled left and side. It's like almost like a trapeze act sometimes. And I think today, you know, did the best. He warned the crew and said, hey, look, these people are coming. You know. So let's get right into predictions.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
Love that drop. Only a couple episodes left this season. We're heading down to the wire. Frank, I'm going to start with you. Next week or the week after, or even towards the end of the season, what do you think is going to happen to our crew on the Discovery?
You know, I mean, we know Pike is leaving at the end of the season. I don't want to see anything that leads up to why he is the way he is when we see him in the menagerie, where he gets hit with the delta rays and he gets confined to that wheelchair. I don't need to see that, and I don't need. I mean, I'm sure there'll be at least a nod that his future is not looking great, and we saw that this episode.
Right.
But I feel like I don't need to see that, and I've also been reading a lot online about like, oh wait, can Control, especially when they saw the way that Leland got taken over. Is it they're like, oh, could this be kind of related to the Borg at all? Is this kind of like the initial beginnings of the Borg? And I really hope that is not the case. Because
Really? Why so? Like, I'm curious.
Because then
I'm
it's like
trying to...
everything's just like tied in. I was like, the Borg can't be just some kind of distant alien thing that originated on its own. It doesn't need to be tied into. I feel like these are the writers like, ooh, what if this then was the Borg? What if we created our own worst enemy? Like, oh.
Yeah.
It would be too neat.
Yes.
Yeah, that's just too neat and orderly. I don't, you know, like chaos rules the day. So
I figure
yeah.
like there's like this balance of having those strings to the other franchises and not. So you guys are in agreement that this being the Borg would be a bad idea.
I think so.
Okay. Terrible idea. I was impressed with whoever thought of it, because I was like, I'd never even thought of it. But I know I've had this fear the whole time that Discovery's been on, that the Borg are going to show up and then I'm going to just be throwing things at the television. But my predictions are, I don't even know. We didn't really talk a lot about Control, but like I don't understand how Control has so much ability to impact the physical world, like how with the nano things and the whatever. So I don't know. I'm looking forward to seeing the Discovery figure out how to go and find Control, and I hope that they don't resolve it this season.
Really? You'd like
Yeah.
to see it carry over?
Yeah, I feel like if this is like another thing, you know, like this is supposed to be a big moment in history, right? Where the universe almost gets destroyed or the galaxy does, whatever. They need to like, I would love to see them build that into it a little bit more, and I would love to see that I'd like to see that go a little further. I'm interested in control and and I think it could be fun because like they're all the rules of the how the universe works. I think control with the right information could break them, and that could be fun.
Do you think that Control could be big enough or bad enough to be an enemy for both Discovery and the Section 31 show? Or do you think would you keep it?
I think it could. I think that the challenge might be that we never heard of Control before this.
Right. Surprise.
So I think it would be great to make it bigger because I think it's interesting, but
Yeah, about the topic of the Borg versus Control. Stress-Free K says, it does make sense that something like the Borg is related to the Red Planet and Control's desire for perfection. But Beaver says, please don't let it be the Borg. I saw the little nanites and nanophones immediately came to mind. So it looks like, you know, having some Borg action may not be a good idea. Which, for me, for someone, again, I have very intellectual level experience when it comes to the Borg, right? I've seen the commercials for Voyager, right? That's as far as I go. 7 or 9, you know, I would be personally excited, but then again, I don't have the other strands to say how that would be necessarily a bad idea. So, I mean, I'm interested in both ways and either ways, but I feel like just by the vibe in the room I'm feeling right now, that'd be a bad idea. My predictions real quick. Based on what I saw today with the original landing in the opening sequence and everyone's interaction, I am not sure if the Control is him, but I do think Michael's father is involved in some way with Control. I don't think if it's him or if he's like his program or AI. I just feel it's weird when Gabriel was like, don't worry about him, he's all right. You know what I mean? I thought that was kind of shady. And the interaction of recognition when the ship landed in the opening scene, but not like outright terror, to me was a red flag. So Michael's dad, part of Control. Yeah, that's my crazy... okay. So I want to say thank you so much out there in the chat. You guys always keep this lively, especially the super chats. You guys are amazing. You guys keep Star Trek Weekly, Star Trek Discovery, the after show running. So I want to thank you so much for that. So before we get out of here, I want to say this has been pretty fun being in this chair. I get why Christian does it. It's nice. It's almost
look
like
out, Christian.
I know. So he could be in the second slot next week. Frank, where can the world find you out there on the internet?
Find me on Twitter and Instagram at HappyGoJackie.
.com or as long as it's just at.
Just that. Just yeah. You know, I mean, give me my Twitter handles at .com. That'd be terrible.
Nikki, where can they find you online?
You can find me everywhere in the social medias at Nikki Bailey _.
Oh, that's cool. At Flobo Boys on Twitter, it is at Flobito on Instagram, Flobito.com. And if you guys are living in the Palms neighborhood of Los Angeles, I am running for neighborhood council. I've stepped up.
Flobo.
Yeah.
Flobo,
Hashtag
Flobo.
Voice in the Hood. Make sure you go out there and vote June 2nd if you're in the area. And if you're not, that's cool. Visit me at Flobito.com.
One thing that you want to change if you get elected.
I want the small businesses and Palms to be able to look at documentation and rules in simple language. Legalese free.
Nice.
There you go.
You know what I'm saying? Of course.
I know who has my vote.
Oh, yes.
Thank you.
I don't live there, but that's okay.
Thank you so much for the chat. Thank you so much for the super chats. And until next time, live long and prosper, and buzz you later.
Our founder, Kevin Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.